Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome to this year's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Terry Hoese Show, where we cover everything on the court with the South Greene Rebels basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Terry Hoese. Coach, it's been quite a minute since we've sat down in the office.
Been a little time, yep.
How have you been since then?
Getting older.
Well, we all do.
Getting fatter.
Well, we all get a little older and we all gain a little weight as we grow up too. So that's something that I think we all have. But basketball sense. We'll jump into it here in just a minute, but last year had a successful season. Year before, successful season. Year before, successful season. This is the fourth year we've sat down for these interviews now, and you've been a successful program those first 3 years. Looking to have another successful season this year. You're bringing a lot back. I know you've got Jace Roderick coming back. You've got Chandler Gamble coming back. You've got Caden Fillers coming back. Yep. You've got a lot of other athletes that were on the bench looking to gain starting time this year. Talk to me about the team this year and what you can expect out of the Rebels in the 2024 season.
Well, to be honest with you, it's like every year. They know expectations here are that they play hard and try to do things right. And to have the kids coming back, I did lose a lot last year. T.J. Buckner and Cooper Kelly and Woody Hickson. I don't sit here and pretend that I can just up and replace those three. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were all three good athletes and did different stuff. But the kids I do have coming back, Jace Roderick is going to be a 3-year starter. He actually started some games as a freshman here and there. But then the Gamble kid who came in last year, late mid-January, I never did start him last year, but he'll be in one of those starting roles now to kind of pick up some slack. 6'8", athletic, shoots it well, and is physical in the post. So look for good things out of him. Caden Fillers, I've had people tell me that they feel like he's the glue of the program. He does a lot of the dirty work. He gets down and beats and bangs in the post and does all the rebounding stuff. And I do think that I've been on him a little bit here in the preseason. He's going to have to look to score more this year than what he has in the past. He's kind of been one of those that rebounds and looks for somebody else to do the scoring, but he's going to have to put in some scoring right here this year. The other two starting positions, I've got Trey Gentry coming back, who's not played since a freshman. He'll be my starting point guard this year. Quick as lightning, strong, athletic, been good on the football field. And he just didn't want to play for 2 years, but come back and asked if he could come back his senior year, and it's been a blessing already this summer. So look for good things out of Trey. And then that other starting spot, I've got several guys that are kind of jockeying for that position. I've got Lucas Couch, Will Arwood, Charlie Lane, which Charlie is hurt right now. He's in a cast, and it'll be a little bit before he gets ready to go. But all three of those guys are probably going to see time as starters in that other spot. And then you got guys coming off the bench. Micah Shelton is a senior that was on my JV last year. He'd never played before up until last year, and I stuck him on the JV just to see how he's going to work out. And he stuck it out. He shoots it well. He'll see some time here and there. Other juniors, got Brant Wilhoit coming up. And you look down at that sophomore class, Noah Wright got several minutes last year as a freshman. Gavin Dyer got some minutes. He'll see some minutes this year, and he's a really good shooter. And then Simon Burns. Simon's probably grown I won't say 6 inches, probably 5 inches, I would say, since last basketball season. So he comes from a family of tall people, and look for some good things out of Simon this year as well.
And then we talk about the conference a little bit. You've reigned supreme the last 2 years, back-to-back conference champions in the tournament. I think you had a 3-way split for the championship last year in the regular season, and then you won it outright the season before. You've got Hampton in it one more year before they move back down to 1A due to the reclassification, but you got 6 teams again this year. What can you expect out of the conference this year?
Who knows?
That's always the fun part about this conference.
That is, going in, I know people talk about Chucky Doak lost 10 seniors, and West Greene lost this kid and lost that kid, and Johnson County's lost a couple kids. But you just don't know. I mean, I know when we start looking at playing Chucky Doak and West Greene, those aren't just conference games. Those are in-county games, and they always seem to be a lot more competitive than what you might think early in the year. And you never know about Johnson County. They're up there by themselves, and nobody really sees them. We saw them a couple times this summer, and Coach Atwood's boys are freshmen and can shoot the lights out of it. So, they're going to be competitive. He did lose his big kid. went to, I think it's Virginia High, he wound up going to for his senior year. So that's a big loss for Johnson County. But, man, he had a lot of kids that come in last year, young kids, that were good. So, put another year on them, and who knows how good Johnson County is going to be. So, and you talk about Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Hampton's Hampton.
We've been battling Hampton for many, many years, not necessarily in the conference, but we battled them whenever single A, and then we went back to double A, and we continue to play them. Just for the simple fact that they may have been single A, but they were always really good competition. I like to play people that's going to make us better, and they've always been one of those teams. So who knows about Hampton? They may be at the top again.
And that's the fun part about this conference. I think you mentioned it last year in the first one we did, that it's wide open. It's wide open again this year. I know something that you spoke about to me in our preview interview last week, which hasn't been released yet, but you can subscribe to Grassroots Media and read that when it does get released. But you said that you would expect your team to be thought of to be another top team coming in this year. You're bringing back 2 starters, 1 player who joined your program late last year in January that didn't get in the starting lineup but was a main contributor and played a lot of minutes on the court last year. So you're bringing back 3 key players. You're bringing back a player that's been in your program before in Trey Gentry. So you've got the pieces. How do you think you'll stand when it comes January, February?
Hopefully by then we've got it together. It's always ugly. I don't care who's playing. It's always ugly to start the year. And I don't expect any differently with us, but I do think we'll get better as these kids play together over the years, over the months. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I wouldn't be disappointed if we don't come out and win some games here early. I think we've got the pieces. The Gamble kid came in last year, and he came in so late that I didn't really have time. We were in the middle of trying to get prepared for tournament, and we had a bunch of games there. And didn't really get to spend the time with him that I needed to teach him what we did here. And he was still able to come in and be a big impact. So now that he's had a summer with us and learned a lot of the things that we do, I think we're kind of in line to maybe make another run. So hopefully that'll happen.
And I know when we look at your schedule each and every year, it's bolstered up with a lot of teams that are very competitive. It's a lot of very good teams. I know you still got Dobbins-Bennett on the schedule. You still got Crockett on the schedule. You played Crockett twice last year, but was going to be 3 times because you met up with them in the Hardee's Classic, which once again you're playing in.
Yes.
You've won the Big H Classic the last 2 years. You're in it once again.
Yes.
And you had one of your toughest battles last year in that tournament. So your schedule is never an easy schedule. That's something that we always talk about each and every year. So talk about your schedule a little bit. We won't go too much into the 3 teams that you're starting with. We'll talk about those in the second half. But throughout your schedule through December, January, and February, talk about some of those teams that you expect to make you better down the road.
Well, we always try to schedule people to make us better. I know right now that we could go out and we could schedule people for wins. And this is year 25 for me. Obviously, we want to win, but it's not my main priority at this point. I want to be ready come tournament time. And obviously, Dobbins-Bennett should make us better. Cott County will make us better. We added Cott County this year in place of University High. Crockett's going to make us better. And then, North Greene, who knows? North Greene's another non-conference. I know they lost Jason Britton last year, but they'll be competitive again. So our non-conference schedule is always good. And then, of course, you go and play in the Hardee's Classic, and we start out with Cott County in the Hardee's Classic. So Big H is always competitive. We've had really good battles down there. We played Lakeway and Tri-Cities Christian last year, and some of my kids had the best games of their careers down there last year. So I think looking at the schedule, and I told you this last week in our preview, and I stand by it, we may not win a game. I mean, I look at our schedule, and you look at the teams that we're playing, and we could potentially lose every game. Hopefully that doesn't happen, and wouldn't expect that to happen, but I think come January, late January, early February, we're going to be tested and we're going to know where we're at, and then when we start district and regional tournaments, we should be ready to go.
I believe in your team, Coach. I think you can win at least 2 or 3.
Maybe.
But it is a tough schedule, and I know you're excited for the season also. We're recording this on Wednesday. Hopefully get it up tonight on Wednesday, if not tomorrow night. Before you tip off against Cherokee in your first Hall of Champions game, we'll discuss that in just a minute, though. But first, we need to get a break in first, so we'll be right back after word from our sponsors to hear about those games here on Grassroots Media.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including Firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pawn is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pawn help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Pizza Inn offers contactless buffet to go with JoJo's Family Feast or anything on our menu for carryout. We also honor birthday parties and cater to businesses and large events. We make it easy. Call us today. Pizza Inn Greenville.
For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Terry Hoese Show, where we cover everything on the court with the South Greene Rebels basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Terry Hoese. So we open up the season this week. Before we talk about your opponents, before we talk about the games, it's year 25 for you. How excited are you to open up another season?
I love this. This is my passion, and been very blessed to be able to do this for 25 years and come across a bunch of kids in 25 years. So still see a lot of those kids out in town, different places. I can only say good things about South Greene High School and about the kids that I've had the opportunity to coach. So I hope I get to do it another 4 or 5 years. That's my intentions, and I get excited come basketball season. This is what I love to do.
Each team has its own identity, and this will be the 25th team that you coach, and you kick off the season on Thursday night traveling to Cherokee to take on the Chiefs in your first Hall of Champions game. And then on Saturday, you travel to Tennessee High to take on the Vikings inside of Viking Hall for your second and final Hall of Champions game. Those two games start off your regular season, so take us through those games and what you can expect when you take on Cherokee in Tennessee.
You never know about Cherokee either. I've asked around. Nobody knows anything about them. I mean, I went back and watched game film from what we've done in the past with Cherokee, and I expect a competitive game. I know they did lose one of their good players to Tri-Cities Christian, so really don't know completely what to expect, but I know Coach Fields does a great job with his kids, and they'll be ready to go tomorrow night. I go in there. I hope we can go in and get a win tomorrow night and get us started off on the right foot, but I also know it's going to be competitive.
And then you kick off the Hardee's Classic next week. It's a tournament that you've been in, I know, all 4 years that I've worked with Grassroots Media, but I think a few years before that, you won it last year after that insane shooting performance against Crockett. You walk into the tournament this year and you open up with Cott County, a team that's going to be very competitive,
Yes.
and it's going to be a tough out in the first round of this tournament. Take us through that game and how you think you can overcome Cott County and advance in that Hardee's Classic.
We actually scrimmaged Cott County at the rec center this past Saturday,
Okay.
so kind of got an idea of personnel and everything. On the flip side of that, they have an idea of our personnel and what we do. So ought to be a competitive game. Physical, both teams are physical, and both teams will come ready to play. I'm going to back up before we get to that, and I'm going to go ahead and call something out right here. We play at Tennessee High on Saturday, and I watched Tennessee High play this Saturday, and I would hate to be in that 3A classification up here. Honestly, right now, Coach McMeans will probably kick my tail if he sees this, but I just about to go out on a limb and say they might be the best team this side of Knoxville. They're
very good.
They're very good. And so we're going to go up there Saturday and hope to survive. But you get to the Hardee's Classic, man, you know how it is. You never know. Kids get jacked up. It's tournament atmosphere right off the bat. You're playing back-to-back games some nights. And try to get through that first one. But Cott County will be a tough, like you said, first round tough out. Either one of these teams can go win that thing.
And the Hardee's Classic is tough because it's the very beginning of the season where your team isn't quite polished yet. You might barely have any polish on your team, and you really don't know what to expect because you don't have much game film from the other teams, and you might not know who you play until 10 o'clock that night after that last game, and then you have to prepare for that in less than probably 16 hours before you have to play them again. So it's always a tough tournament at the beginning of the year in that way.
It is. And the crazy part is, you mentioned last year, might have been the best game we played all year.
Might have been the best shooting performance ever in South Greene history.
I looked down and Coach Cottle just threw his hands up at one time, and I just laughed. I'm like, dude, it's everything we threw up went in. And I don't care to say it. I'd like to have some more nights like that, but they don't come around very often, that's for sure.
And I know the Hardee's Classic, I don't have the pool of teams in front of me, but we talked about it before that it's a tough pool this year. It's not the pool that we're used to seeing where you have a few county teams sprinkled in. It's just you and Chucky Doak, I believe, in it now. But you've got Cott County, of course. You've got Clinton, a team that's traveling over to play in it. Unicoi County is a team that had always been in it. It was one of the toughest outs in that tournament. They're not participating in it. I know Crockett's hosting. It's a tough pool of teams this year, and it's quite different than what you've seen in the past.
Yes, and Crockett may be as good as anybody up here as well. I mean,
That's true.
I'd like to see the Crockett-Tennessee High game. That ought to be a really competitive basketball game, but Crockett pretty much has everybody back, and they're going to be really good. So, ought to be a great tournament. Come out and watch that thing and support them. Hardee's, I think it said it was 35 years of this thing going on, so they do a great job with the tournament.
How many years have you played in the Hardee's Classic?
Man, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not sure. Probably 4 or 5, 6 years, somewhere around in there.
But it's a great tournament that they've held. It's crazy. It's lasted 35 years now, along with a few other the tournaments. You're in the Big H Bash again this year also. We'll go just a little bit ahead into that Christmas tournament since we're on the topic of tournaments here, but that's one that you had one of your toughest games last year, and another one of your great performances last year. That Tri-Cities Christian game was an unbelievable comeback and overtime performance, and then the Lakeway game, you had an unbelievable performance from Jace Roderick. So the Christmas tournament's another fun one too, because at that time you can kind of get a little bit more film on teams. You can kind of see how polished they are at that point a month into the season, but it's still a tournament. Tournaments are fun because you don't know who you're playing sometimes until that final game wraps up. So how excited are you to participate in the Big H Classic again this year?
Very appreciative of Trey invited us back. And we talked about trying to travel somewhere and play with this group, but didn't work out, and Trey allowed us to come back to the Big H, and we've won that thing several times. And then there's been several years I've went down there and gotten kicked in the first round. So it's always a competitive tournament. But when you look at your kids and you're in those, especially those holiday tournaments, I don't know what it is about it. Kids relax a little bit and go out and play and have fun and try to make it fun. Obviously, you want to win the thing, but you just don't know what you're going to get.
You've won that one the last 2 years also, I believe. Another thing, when you go up to the Big H Class, you got to get that barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get the barbecue. I mean, they sponsor it, and a lot of times when you go up to Cherokee's regular season games, they might not have the barbecue. Yep. So whenever you've got the opportunity and you go up to the Big H Bash, if anybody travels up to that this year, just remember, we're telling you right now, try the barbecue.
Absolutely. My bus driver's tickled to death. He said, tell me we're going back to the Big H. I've got to have some barbecue.
It's amazing. Whether you get the sandwich, whether you get the pulled pork, the nachos are fantastic. Either way, their barbecue's amazing. Last question I'll have, just a little fun question. We talked about the concession item at Cherokee. If you go up to your concession stand here at South Greene, what's your number one item that you get?
Well, you got to have popcorn. Everywhere
popcorn
you go.
is the number one thing I always get when I come here. If I need something to snack on, it's popcorn. If I'm really starving, if you've got pizza, I need a piece of pizza.
Yep.
But the popcorn, man, you can't go wrong with it. It's one of the best on this side of Knoxville, man. I've been to a lot of games. I've been to a lot of places, tried a lot of popcorn. I know it's Kyle Donahue's thing also, but South Greene has some of the best popcorn, I will say.
That.
Absolutely. But, I mean, I'm excited. Basketball season's here. It's the first basketball interview of the year. It's the first basketball interview I've done, and I'll get to finally come out and watch some South Greene basketball soon. Hope to see some wins this year. Hope to see more than 2 or 3 like I joked about. Hope to see you staying well when it comes tournament time in February. But, Coach, until then, until next time, thank you once again. Thank you all for watching this week's first edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Terry Hoese Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.